race. And since then, Daytona International Speedway has become an American institution. In conjunction with Daytona International Speedway, International Speedway Corporation is also responsible for owning such featured tracks as Talladega Superspeedway, Little Club Speedway of Southern California, as well as Richmond International Raceway, just to name a few.
And again, I welcome you to Daytona International Speedway. Those are the original tunnels from 1959. They go about 25 feet underneath turn number 4, and they stretch a distance of 250 feet. The construction of the Speedway began in November of 1957. It really didn't take them all that long to get everything together. We ran the first Daytona 500 in February of 1959. And this past February, we celebrated the 52nd anniversary of the Great American Race. We do have on-track activity today with the Richard Petty riding and driving experience. They do a couple of different programs here, one of which you can drive the stock car around Daytona International Speedway. I do believe they have some openings in their classes today. You don't feel like driving, but you have the need for speed. That's one of their ride-along cars. You can be the passenger in that car, 3 laps, 165 miles an hour. Cost you right at $143 to do that. I know that sounds like a lot of money, but it's a whole lot of fun. And it's the fastest $143 you'll spend today. Well, let's talk about the Speedway. We do have lights here. We put those in preparation for the first nighttime running of the 400 back in July of 1998. Unfortunately, that's the same time we were experiencing a rash of wildfires in this area. Got so smoky around here, you really couldn't see from one end of the Speedway to the other, so we had to postpone the event, and we finally got it rescheduled and run in October of '98. That was a sellout crowd here that day. When they turned the lights on, the place lit up like a Christmas tree, and there's pretty good reason for that. If you look on your left, up at the top of the Speedway, just outside the wall, you'll see a bunch of light poles. We have 202 of those around the perimeter of the Speedway. And each one of those contains anywhere from 4 to a dozen 1,250-watt bulbs. On the infield portion of the course, again on your left, right up next to that short white guardrail, there's a series of light boxes. 288 of those, and each one of those has a 2,000-watt bulb inside. We're up at the east end of the Speedway in turn 3. Cars you're about to watch go by are up on 31 degrees of banking. Through turns 3 and 4, it's 2,600 feet around those two turns. And that's identical to turns 1 and 2 down at the west end of the Speedway. The distance between the yellow lines over there on your left at the bottom of the Speedway and that white broken line that's a little higher up the banking, that's a distance of only 30 feet. But the Sprint Cup drivers will come through here 3 wide at more than 190 miles an hour. Now, they'll occasionally try and make it 4 wide. Occasionally, that works. Most of the time, it doesn't. And somebody has a pretty good chance of getting into the outside wall, which fortunately now is the safer barrier. We put that in 2004. SAFER stands for Steel and Foam Energy Reduction. We have 9 miles of steel tubing in the SAFER barrier. On your right up at the top of the Speedway, right next to the racing surface, there's a concrete wall on the outside and blocks of foam in between the two. If a car gets into the SAFER barrier, that steel tubing deflects a little bit, and the foam behind it gives way a bit, and that greatly dissipates the energy from the impact. Over on your left, down the middle of the Speedway, there's a body of water over there past that white guardrail. That's Lake Lloyd. It's a man-made lake. And it's a man-made lake. And that's from there that they pulled 1 million cubic yards of dirt to build the high banks. When Mr. Bill France Sr., also known as Big Bill, was looking for a place to construct a super speedway, he needed a piece of property that A, was large enough to accommodate a 2.5-mile facility, and B, had the right quantity and quality of dirt to build the high banks. He found everything he needed all rolled up into this one piece of property. And Mr. Francis' dream became a reality. The opening of Daytona International Speedway for that first Daytona 500 back in February of 1959. Also on your left, adjacent to Lake Lloyd, over on the other side of the lake, there's a set of grandstands back there. Those are the Tiny Lund, Bobby Allison Super Stretch grandstands. We built those in 1994 with an original seating capacity of 4,000 people. We've added a couple of seats over the years. We can output 45,000 fans back there on the Super Stretch. The grandstands on your right, over on the front straightaway, stretch for 0.8 of a mile from the exit of turn 4 all the way down to the entrance of turn number 1. We can seat 109,000 fans on the front straightaway. Back in February for the Daytona 500, that event was a sellout, and that meant the front straightaway and the Super Stretch grandstands were all full. And just about every inch of ground down here in the infield was also jam full. And we're told by the media that when that happens, and we do have a sellout here at Daytona, the Speedway actually becomes one of the larger cities in the state of Florida. At least for a short period of time, anyway. Getting back to Lake Lloyd for a moment, that used to be 44 acres in size. We did a multi-million-dollar construction and renovation project in 2004. And as part of that, we filled in the lake by about a third on this side, and we put in more than 250 premium RV spots. In case you didn't notice, we have a bunch of Jeeps here this weekend. It is called Jeep Beach. As we make this turn, if you look off to your left, you'll see them running through an obstacle course here with the Jeeps. They were anticipating having about 1,000 participants for this weekend. And that'll be going on all day today. The area here to the left, just the other side of the blue guardrail, is part of the infield road course. This particular section is the International Horseshoe Turn. It's a sweeping 180-degree turn. It's used by the Rolex 24-hour cars. It's also used by the motorcycles in March and October. And it's used by the Sports Car Club of America as well as the World Karting Association. Right after the 400 in 2004, we came through the infield with bulldozers. And we knocked down just about every building in sight, with the exception of a couple. And we started all brand new. We put up new Nationwide and Sprint Cup Series garages. And in between the two, we put in the Sprint Fan Zone.